Regarding Oracle, Jim, the soundbite that made the rounds over the weekend, describing what Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, and Jensen Huang sound like at dinner is really telling. Listen to this. I went to dinner with Elon Musk and Jensen Huang in Palo Alto, and I'm sure you listened to him. I know you do, because I've seen the stock price. The dinner was, in my opinion, Oracle, Elon, and me pleading with Jensen to give us GPUs. Please take our money. Kindly accept our cash. I had dinner. Kindly accept our cash. Take more of it, please. You aren't consuming enough. Please take more of our money. We need it. It was successful. I suppose that's how you maintain 90% margins, Jim. It may sound like the start of a comedy when three billionaires go into a club, but this is a true scenario. And while this is a far cry from where we were 2 weeks ago, it's also a lot like the extremely emotional process Jensen Huang discussed at Goldman Sachs. David, when did trying to obtain something that costs $440,000 become such an intensely emotional process? David, that's a valid query. Jim, I believe it is relatively unusual in the history of technology to consider emotion to be a component of the entire process. However, it is. Ellison addressed the rivalry that comes up frequently when it comes to having access to the GPUs required to run these massive models. These models devour enormous volumes of data, propelling generative AI forward to the point where eventually we'll see consumer-facing applications that make up for the billions spent on AI technology rather than merely enterprise-focused ones. Jim. Hawk Tan, however, would say, not yet. I really believe that you should stick with the big guns, the hyperscalers. Although Elon Musk has previously made disparaging remarks regarding Jensen, he made some positive remarks during the most recent conference call. It's important to get Jensen right, and I don't think Musk has done that yet. Thus far this year, Nvidia has outperformed all other stocks in the S&P 500, despite having dropped roughly 30 points from its peak. How did this lifeless stock come to life again? It's all about CEO Jensen Huang assuaging apprehensions regarding the company's supercomputer chip, Blackwell, which has been the focus of conjecture regarding poor implementation, lost chances, and the true extent of demand for AI hardware in a market rife with falsehoods and misinformation. Jensen clarified the situation. During the Communicopia Plus Technology Conference, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, whom I refer to as Da Vinci, due to his resemblance to a Renaissance man of today, stated during a fireside chat that we are not narrating the tale correctly. Not only is Nvidia at the center of the generative AI movement, but it also controls the accelerated computing market, where its GPUs will eventually replace almost all of the older, slower chips. Then he spoke to the bears and doubters who had been claiming that the company's groundbreaking Blackwell chip was too difficult to produce and might not be available for purchase in large quantities by 2024. False. Jensen stated the following. We are in full production mode and building up Blackwell. We'll begin shipping in Q4 and scaling that same year. Everyone is vying for the top spot since demand is so high. Everyone aspires to be the greatest. It's really intense. How comforting those words are. They were necessary for the semiconductor bull market, and soon Nvidia's stock and that of other travelers like Broadcom were surging. Although Broadcom received a terrible response after releasing a generally disapproved quarter, its stock is currently trading higher than it was. Look, the market is really emotional right now. That is reflected in the movement of stocks such as Nvidia, Broadcom, and even JP Morgan. However, the viscerally bullish activity in alternative energy stocks indicates how dangerous it is to make any firm judgments just yet. This is maybe connected to Vice President Harris' position on carbon emissions during the debate last night. But keep in mind, even mediocre businesses will see significant improvements in performance if the Fed begins to reduce interest rates. Rate reductions are favorable for stocks. Bottom line, don't complicate things. Rate reductions are beneficial. Minimal rate reduction are an excellent way to show confidence and pave the way for future rate drops without creating a panic. I regretfully come to the conclusion that individuals who are upset that we'll probably only receive a 25 basis point cut next week don't know what they're talking about. Returning to money movers, please. Nowhere is the fast convergence of artificial intelligence and healthcare more apparent than in the drug discovery industry, which has been beset by inefficiencies and protracted development timelines. The development of new medications takes 10 to 15 years, and 80 to 90% of clinical trials end in failure. With the help of Nvidia, Sandbox AQ hopes to significantly reduce the amount of time needed to discover new drugs for conditions including cancer, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's disease. Jim Breyer, the founder and CEO of Breyer Capital, and Jack Kaderi, the CEO of Sandbox AQ, are visiting us today in honor of World Alzheimer's Month. Jim is a major supporter of Sandbox AQ and a startup investor. It's wonderful to have you here, gentlemen. Greetings. Jack, I'm grateful, Sarah. It's enjoyable every time. Sarah, it's World Alzheimer's Awareness Month, Jack, so let me explain. If yes, how are you utilizing your quantum and artificial intelligence to help treat this illness that so many Americans suffer from? Jack, as you mentioned, a medicine must be developed for over 10 years before it can be approved for use in a clinic, where a 90% failure rate occurs. To make innovative use of Nvidia chips, we teamed up with them. While viewers may be acquainted with big linguistic models, large quantitative models, LQMs, are the subject of discussion here. LQMs have the ability to model and analyze the interactions between possible medications and the human body. For instance, working with the Nobel Prize-winning labs at UCSF and Stanford, we were able to identify important chemicals in less than 18 months, and in the next 6 months, we will begin clinical trials, a process that has a far higher chance of success than the customary 10 years. It's really thrilling. Sarah, Jim, I always answer your calls, and I am aware that you have increased your dependence on Nvidia during pivotal times. However, what is the reason for your enthusiasm for this quantum union? And is there anyone else taking similar action? Jim, hello Sarah, it's the only thing being done. Companies in the Magnificent Seven, such as Dell and Oracle, are internally developing AI, but not to this extent. In terms of portfolio, I've worked on roughly 16 spin-outs of significant organizations and medical facilities, including MIT, UCSF, Harvard Medical School, and others. In my opinion, AI and computation will have a significant impact on healthcare. I take note when I see Larry Ellison devoting 75% of his time to artificial intelligence and its applications in health. Sarah, that is a strong recommendation. How near are we to using this in the real world? Jack, thanks to our collaboration with Nvidia, we can grow. Our technology is being used by UCSF, big pharmaceutical firms, and academic labs to treat a range of illnesses, including cancer and Alzheimer's. Big quantitative models go well beyond the capabilities of large language models like ChatGPT in helping us examine the interactions between molecules and their targets throughout the body. Next significant catalyst. Yes, that is our perspective. As additional researchers examine not only the October quarter, but also the demand trajectory over the next 6 to 9 months, and considering the developments surrounding yields and Blackwell, we believe that order flow might ultimately reach the tens of billions. You begin to examine a stock that I consider to be reasonably priced, because I don't tend to look at a name and go, oh, it's gone from X to Y. That's crazy. However, observe the figures. You essentially had an earnings power of $1.70, and now you will have $5 to $6. Therefore, it also depends on the numbers. It's also similar to piecing together a puzzle. Take a look at what Jensen is discussing. Take a look at what Nadella, Amazon, and Google are talking about among hyperscalers. Take a look at the incredible growth in the semiconductor industry that we have witnessed in Asia over the past 30 years. Next, you examine use cases such as Oracle, ServiceNow, and Palantir. This is just the start. Though it's not a straight line, this is the start of $1 trillion worth of AI capital. Tell me if you require any more changes or improvements for cybersecure, and obviously for Crouch. I think George would say the same thing, but it was a bad software update that basically we will talk about for years, and I think will probably change the way